It's been one hell of a week in Chicago as the Democratic National Convention rolled through town. A lot of it was great, inspiring, hopeful, surprising, entertaining.
It was a slog. So long. Too many speakers.
Yeah.
Too many nights.
Some of the chances being given to Democrats to address the very serious concerns of voters, however, have been mostly squandered.
There is a big blood-stained elephant in the middle of this room that no one wants to acknowledge.
Yeah, and quick reminder, we did film this episode before the closing night's addresses, so something might have changed.
Prove me wrong.
Anything could have happened, and I'm sure that we will talk about it in our next episode, but for the time being, this week gave us a damn near perfect example of what each political party in this country currently represents. The DNC, it seemed like a pretty jubilant and uplifting affair where people talked about their hopes for the future, told inspiring stories about their lives, their struggles, their triumphs, and also enjoyed multiple celebrity appearances and musical performances that were all very positive feeling. Now, the RNC, on the other hand, I mean, you watched it a month ago. It was full of doom and gloom with aggression and toxic masculinity leading many of their biggest moments.
Hey, Hulk Hogan was there though. That was pretty cool, right?
Toxic masculinity. Actually, I didn't bring this up in the episode, but this week he was like filmed at an event where he's like, "Who wants me to body slam Kamala Harris?"
Okay.
So he's
all right.
Not great.
Okay, Hulkster.
And all of that aggression, toxic masculinity, it was mixed with just old white fragility, willful ignorance, and of course the general bigotry that filled out the rest of their convention.
Yeah, it's just like, I want to go back. It's, you know what it is. We've been in this fucking hell world for at least 8 years now. It's, I want to go back to an imaginary version of the 1950s that never actually existed. And I don't want to have to learn anything new.
Nope.
Ever. I want things to be exactly the same as I remember them.
I want
when I was 5
gasoline
years old.
to smell the way it used to smell.
Yeah.
That's right. And I will not stop until gasoline smells sweet and delicious again.
Yeah, and they should make the paint chips taste sweet and delicious too. I grew up on those paint chips.
No one would be hungry if they could just go eat the side of their homes.
So sweet. So tasty. But yeah, even the reactions from conservatives this week have been particularly ghoulish, if you can believe it. Not to mention the fact that a bunch of right-wing provocateurs traveled to the convention with the intention of instigating conflict. Luckily, for the most part, the right-wingers who physically showed up to the event were quickly called out and mocked. There was Charlie Kirk getting roasted by Parker Short of the Young Democrats of Georgia for never talking to women. That was pretty fun. Getting laughed at by Hassan on a live stream, and then firing off a tweet that attempted to make fun of vice presidential nominee Tim Walz for playing video games in his 30s.
Brilliant maneuver, sir.
Yeah. Anyone who plays video games in their 30s,
Total loser.
the Republican Party hates you. Go fuck yourself.
That's what he's saying.
Get a
loud
real
and
hobby,
clear.
loser.
Yeah. Now, rounding out the cavalcade of calamity were Jack Prylasek, then, of course, the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, and also a few other lesser-known instigators. Now, Jack Prylasek made a fool of himself by attempting to do a little gotcha journalism outside the convention center, and he was met, obviously, with a lot of hostility because people are not dumb. They're not dumb, they're not deaf, and they're not blind to the very clear traps that he was attempting to put out for them.
Yeah, this is not good. This is not going to be a good faith encounter.
No, none of it is. Especially like the Charlie Kirk thing, going back to like a bad faith argument. Okay, well, what's your definition of a woman? And just the response being, I don't know, I guess you've never met one.
Yeah.
You have to just be a dick to these people because they're not entering into a conversation or a debate in good faith. They're doing it to fuck with you or get a clip. So one woman, Amanda Moore, who had previously done a report on the alt-right movement for the outlet The Nation, quickly identified Jack Prylasek. I don't even know how to say his real last name.
Posobobic?
She didn't play along with his bad faith jokes about abortions and called him an asshole just straight to his face. While the woman that she was with joked,
I'm getting paid by George Soros to have an abortion on the stage with no drug.
Which people took as a statement of fact.
There's never been a statement more joking.
Did you hear they're going to be doing an abortion live on stage?
To believe that is to out oneself as a moron.
Yeah. The Amanda Moore interview, she did a whole thing. She went like undercover with
For
the
like a
alt-right
year,
for like a year.
yeah.
So yeah, she has a lot of dirt on them. But yeah, she was just like,
I know who you are.
she was dropping like, she was cursing at him, and he's like, we can't use this if you curse. She's like, I don't fucking care. Go away then. Leave me
Please
alone.
leave.
Jesus,
Yes.
fuck off. But true to form, Mike Lindell, he out-weirded all of them. Not only with his undercover costume, which was just him shaving his mustache and putting on a hat and sunglasses.
I am now undercover.
Yeah.
I am covert. No one will be able to identify me because of my very noticeable mustache having gone missing.
Yeah, and he has that thing that like dudes that have had a mustache for as long as you can remember, their upper lip looks about like half their face when they take it off. It just seems gigantic.
Not just that, but like very obviously because of the mustache, not exposed to the sun for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's like a suntan spot and also chafy and weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough about his appearance. He looked like a freak because he is one, but shaving his mustache didn't really do much to hide who he was.
But yeah, he got into a screaming match with a literal child on camera about the 2020 election results after being asked an extremely simple question.
A child asked him a question, and he got very upset.
Literally, I saw people talking about like
Mr. Lindell.
He got in an argument with a child. I'm like, there's no way that's actually true. It's like a fucking 6-year-old.
He's 12.
Just like,
He's 12. But
okay, well, yeah. I can't tell how old anyone is.
Mr. Lindell, about those misplaced ballots.
You need to go and look at the Chinese evidence from my cyber symposium, because you're dead wrong, kid.
Why are you yelling at me?
I only have one volume, sir. Only one volume, and it's very loud.
So that's pretty much, why am I talking about this? That's pretty much how it went.
But yeah, the best part of Mike Lindell's disguise was the fact that, he still looked and, most importantly, sounded exactly like Mike Lindell. And he was called out immediately, so it was essentially pointless for him to shave off his iconic mustache in the first place. Also, dark sunglasses indoors while being followed by cameras at a political event, it's not as inconspicuous as Mike Lindell may have initially thought.
Yeah, why does my cover's been blown. Everyone seems to know who I am. Yeah. Gee willikers.
Regardless, a 12-year-old influencer named Noah asked him for some proof regarding his rigged election claims, and he couldn't give him a straightforward answer, resulting in footage and photos of Mike Lindell yelling at a child.
That's in your state. You want to know more in your state? So they just found 257,000 votes. This happened last week. A judge ruled in Georgia that are missing from the 2020 election. So this just came out. You're behind. So
your sources trust me, bro? That's your source?
The source. It's in your papers in Georgia. You need to read your news.
It's not how it looks. I was debating him in the marketplace of ideas.
From The Independent.
But despite his distinct lack of upper lip hair, Lindell failed to manage to slip under the radar. Footage from the event shows the former Trump advisor having a series of spats with other attendees. In one video, Lindell is seen spouting a number of baseless claims, including a false claim that hundreds of thousands of votes were missing in Georgia during the 2020 election. 257,000 votes. This happened last week. A judge ruled in Georgia that are missing from the 2020 election, he said. There is no evidence for this, with the closest news headline being an Associated Press fact check, which actually debunks that claim. So your sources trust me, bro? The young content creator quipped in a video posted to his 43,000 ex-followers. No, Lindell fiercely retorted. It's in your papers in Georgia. You need to read the news.
Okay.
Could you provide those papers to me, sir? Even doctored ones that you've made up? Could you just point me to any proof? No?
You're going to have to watch the symposium. And I'm telling you right now, it is 36 hours long.
And that guy has a mustache. I'm not listening to him.
Yeah. There was also Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh in
some sort of liberal costume. Also James O'Keefe in they just covered themselves in Kamala merch.
You know what it is?
Merch I'd never even seen before.
You know what it is? This is political cross-dressing. They've
got it.
They have a fetish for it. They've all been doing it. And this is like the one where they can kind of get away with it while being in someone else's skin or something.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is drag, basically.
It's just so boring.
Now, as for the Dems themselves, like we said, it was mostly a good time for them. I mean, there were some cringe moments here and there, many of them involving New York State Governor Kathy Hochul, who got a very cold response from the crowd during her speech.
She sucks.
Yeah, and also, and I know she's from New York, so this is a tough one. But I would say if you're at the DNC,
you're in Chicago.
and
it's the best opportunity,
and someone offers you a slice,
you go try it
of deep dish pizza, you just take a bite.
Yeah.
She refused to even try, to even acknowledge the existence of Chicago deep dish.
You know, this is one of the
Where's
things.
the cheese? It's under the sauce. I don't see the cheese. It's under the sauce. I'm Italian. There should be cheese.
It's under the sauce.
It's from Chicago. It's under the sauce.
Yeah, this is one of the great things about living on the West Coast is not being involved in this stupid pizza rivalry between America's two greatest cities.
Well, Elliot, I will have you know that L.A. is having a bit of a pizza renaissance right now itself.
Yeah, we got fine pizza.
But we're not making a big
We're
stink
not
about
the
it.
originators of any of it, except for
The fast food burger.
Well, the barbecue chicken pizza was a LA creation by Wolfgang Puck, and I'd say barbecue chicken pizza is a variation on the pizza pie that it slaps.
I don't know, you're getting dangerously close into ham and pineapple territory there.
I like that shit too. It's a vessel. You can put anything on it.
Yeah. Also, Governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, publicly stating that he is all of these terms. I think separately they might be okay, except for the Redditor one, but all of them together.
As a Redditor, gamer, entrepreneur, and Swiftie from the free state of Colorado.
Now that's a bit much.
Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag.
But things picked right back up on Tuesday night during the DNC's roll call, which turned into a party where each state was introduced and acknowledged with a song that represents their state in some way. And while most of them didn't exactly steal the show, the state of Georgia went all out. It was fucking wild. They had Lil Jon appear and perform Turn Down for What? I couldn't believe it. I thought it was insane, amazing.
If every state had taken this amount of time to introduce themselves, all the first night would have been was introductions.
And that would have been fine.
Yeah, you know.
It was more entertaining than many other things, although they did not have a Rudy Giuliani falling into a chair moment.
Yeah.
Although he was there.
Yeah, with Mike Lindell.
In a tiny little camera.
And some big shoes.
But the biggest moment of the night came from of that night in particular, came from former President and former First Lady Barack and Michelle Obama, who, like many in the freshly reinvigorated Democratic Party, stopped playing nice and just brutally mocked Donald Trump.
But Michelle said that when they go low, we go high.
Yeah, that's notable because she was the one who popularized the term.
Michelle, no!
When they go low, we go high. Turns out that only works if your opponents have morals.
And then she tried to feed me vegetables. You witch! I will never forgive Michelle Obama for feeding me vegetables.
I
want my chicken nuggets. Give me my chicken nuggets.
The DNC could have gotten a lot more Republicans on their side if they had just served dino-shaped nuggets in the cafeteria. It's a shame. Here's NPR with more on the Obama speeches.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us, Michelle Obama said of Trump's campaign in 2016. His limited and narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who also happened to be black. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs? The former First Lady quipped to raucous applause.
And of course, that's the reference to Trump's common theme of saying that,
the immigrants are taking black jobs.
Sir, please explain yourself.
You know, a black job. A job me or any of my sons would never be caught dead doing.
Oh.
An undesirable job.
Yeah.
Shoveling shit, for example. And of course you've probably all seen it by now, but Barack Obama, he would go on to make a not so subtle dick joke in front of an audience of millions, which was odd, but...
It's at least, it's a funny scenario that a former president is making a joke about another former president's penis size.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
So we'll show the clip, but the comedic timing of his hand gestures with the quip about Trump's obsession with crowd size is pretty fantastic work.
Yeah.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
You gotta hand it to him. He has great comedic timing.
He's good at talking.
Yeah.
I
personally don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he did while he was in office, but...
That, and I think what bothers me more is that when he got out, he got out. He has like a fucking production company that makes like
he kind of was just like,
extremely mid documentaries, and I don't know. As like one of the first elections of my life that felt like, it really mattered, and got a lot of people of my age group interested in politics, it was
Kind of a bummer.
Demoralizing chain of events when he just sort of said, I'm returning to my home planet, instead of, I don't know, using the massive amounts of like data that he collected in his elections.
clout in general, and his amazing ability to speak very clearly to an audience that is receptive to it during a fucking fascist president's term.
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of just gone making movies.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can tell that this speech had a negative effect on Trump, who is right now the closest he's ever been to actually just saying the N-word in public.
It is on the the atomic clock. The N-word clock is at 12:59.
1 second to midnight. He is gonna say it. But he instead opted to ask if he still has to himself stick to policy talk, or can I get back down and get dirty? Which he has never not done. He has never.
I'm so tired of Donald Trump only talking about policy.
Yeah.
What?
Did you see Barack Hussein Obama last night? Take little shots. He was taking shots at your president. And so was Michelle. You know, they always say, sure, please stick to policy, don't get personal. And yet they're getting personal all night long, these people. Do I still have to stick to policy?
He, at best, he went one day during the RNC without saying something extremely negative, maybe, and I can't even confirm that, but it reminds me so much of people who live in Florida being like, oh yeah, that pandemic. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks for you.
You guys were in and out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you like had to put a mask on like
to go to the
3
gas
or 4
station.
times.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Anyways, he's very excited to get back to calling people names.
Yeah.
But that's not a surprise because he's already been doing that. He never stopped. So I don't understand why he thinks he stopped.
He's moved on to claiming that he is more attractive visually than Kamala Harris.
And also providing the most solid proof of him being cooked ever, which is where he was asked about being called weird and he just said, no, they're weird.
Yeah.
Well, they're the weird ones, and if you've ever seen her with the laugh and everything else, that's a weird deal going on there. They're the weird ones. Nobody's ever called me weird. I'm a lot of things, but weird I'm not.
He's got nothing. Moving on to Wednesday night and America's introduction or reintroduction to vice presidential pick Tim Walz, which went over extremely well as Walz stood on stage and was humbled at the opportunity to serve his country in such a profound way, recalling his years teaching, coaching football, and even bringing out the players that he helped coach all the way to the state championship. The speech was positive, uplifting, hopeful, relatable, did a great job of highlighting the differences in how the parties view the United States of America. But the truly stark contrast between the two parties came shortly after Tim Walz's speech because conservatives threw away any remaining shred of like humanity, not just decency, but just not being a fucking sociopath.
A ghoul.
They ruthlessly attacked Tim Walz's 17-year-old son, Gus, for the unforgivable sin of getting really emotional about his father potentially becoming the vice president of the country. No, you're supposed to stand there and keep your emotions tucked inside you. Just keep them balled up. And keep that ball growing. With each new emotion you feel, you increase the size of the emotional ball until you explode. That's what you're supposed to do, Gus.
Violently.
Violently. And also like, oh God, isn't it super gay when you're extremely proud of like your family members for their accomplishments?
It was very weird that was the response.
Gay!
It is shocking, but expected, but also very telling about what actually is at the heart of their anger issues.
Yeah.
These people have not felt actual love in a very long time.
No, they haven't.
And that is so clear.
They haven't felt it in themselves and they haven't felt it from other people because they're all essentially narcissistic, selfish, self-centered people.
The idea that a son showing emotion for his father makes them uncomfortable is one of the most sad things that I think I have witnessed in this election cycle.
They were also being super fucking weird about Kamala's stepdaughter.
Yeah!
Like, literally like showing pictures of her and like, okay guys, this is Kamala's family. Get a load of this. And it's like, oh, this must be so weird to you because it's a family where everyone seems to actually like each other. It definitely like self-reporting a lot.
Yeah, telling on themselves with what they think is going on with certain things. Just be like, well, look at this. Obviously something's fucked up here because my brain just can't comprehend.
Reminds me of my kid who hasn't called me in 6 months.
Now you're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
A teenager, we're going back to Walz' son now, a teenager being visibly proud of his father and feeling safe enough to express those emotions in public is obviously making conservatives very uncomfortable.
Like, can you imagine if, like, I mean, your dad is semi-famous, at least in the community, but like most people in the country have no fucking clue who he is. And in the course of a month, that changes quickly, and it turns out everyone thinks he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like that would be, especially for a young person, that's a lot to take in, and it would feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine the opposite of like the country gets to meet your dad and fucking hates him?
Oh, you mean like the famed football player from the state of Georgia? God, what's his fucking Herschel Walker?
Yeah. I wonder what's happening with Christian Walker. I hope he's doing all right.
Well, anyways, yeah, I think that for me was the proof that I think that this is a very good family, is that he feels safe enough to express these emotions. Because we talked about that before with like, okay, conservatives, why do you think that your kids would go to a trusted teacher or administrator instead of you to talk about how they're feeling different? Oh, it's because they're actually scared of you.
Yeah.
Or your kids are scared of showing emotions around you.
Yeah, it is very telling. Like you see a kid crying, not even because they're sad, but just because they're emotionally overwhelmed, and you think that that's like
that's
sin.
bad. Yeah, you think that's bad. No, that's actually processing your emotions in a very healthy way.
You're telling me a lot about your parenting style, and none of it's good.
Yeah. The reaction to his son crying, it really makes you wonder why they are the way they are. Maybe it's because a lot of them have driven their family members away from them because they're annoying to be around, or just straight up racist or bigoted. And not that it wouldn't be okay for any son to get emotional about a family member on one of the greatest days of their life, but the fact is, Walz' son has a nonverbal learning disorder.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And ADHD.
Jesus Christ.
And so not that it matters because the reaction was so knee-jerk, but with that added context, it makes the mockery of this kid so much more sinister.
Holy shit.
Now, regardless, as I said, even without that context, conservatives were extra cruel to a kid who was just proudly standing up and saying, "That's my dad," while tearing up. One verified user even went so far as to claim that Walz' son was the result of, quote, spoiled semen.
You're making it weird again. You didn't have to talk about jizz, and you made it weird.
Not beating the allegations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one was talking about jizz until you showed up.
And said it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Must be the jizz. Anyways, see you later.
Okay. But that wasn't all, because more notable conservatives, they got in on the act, and that includes Ann Coulter, registered ghoul, who tried to use the moment to throw the term weird back in the Dems' faces by tweeting, "Talk about weird," above an image of Tim Walz' son crying. And there were plenty more, most of them deleted by now, including this one from a failed MAGA candidate from New Jersey. Is it Joey Salads?
No, not unless he changed his name.
I think he's from Staten Island.
They put him in the CRISPR and they got Mike CRISPR.
Mike Crispy.
Yeah, okay, Crispy, there you go.
Mike Crispy, great name, who said, Tim Walz' stupid crying son isn't the flex the left thinks it is. You raised your kid to be a puffy beta male. Congrats.
Ugh.
The response was so unhinged that even right-wing cranks like Ben Shapiro attempted to bring back some level of decency by tweeting out the video and adding, "This is really quite nice."
Guys, not really helping ourselves out here.
When Ben Shapiro is the voice of reason, especially on a topic like this, something is wrong. You have fucked up.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, can we, it's actually a really nice video. So, can we just talk about the issues, please?
Noah should interview him, the 12-year-old influencer.
Yeah, they'd be like,
it wouldn't even need to get any apple
crates. A nose to nose.
But despite Ben Shapiro having one normal tweet, have no fear, because the true kings of weird, they are back on the campaign trail.
The boys are back in town!
And they are reminding everyone that they come across, don't forget, we are socially inept and out of touch. And
in case you forgot.
Yeah, this was put on display perfectly recently when Republican VP pick J.D. Vance visited a donut shop in Valdosta, Georgia earlier this week. Okay, J.D., here's the plan. We're in South Georgia for a campaign stop, so we're going to go and meet some locals. We're going to shake some hands. We're going to support a local business and show everyone that people like us, we're totally normal.
Yeah, just basic politics shit. You got this.
All right, can you do that, JD? Can you go inside this local business, make a simple food order, and then return without coming off as a constantly isolated freak who doesn't know how to talk to regular folks? Can you do that?
You got it. But viewers, would it surprise you to learn that J.D. Vance did not act normal, was not well received, and the person behind the counter also appeared to have no fucking clue who J.D. Vance even is or that he's running for vice president. Just a failure on all, none of the boxes were checked, I'm sorry. Which on its own is funny, but it also reaffirms the idea that the Trump campaign either has no idea what it's doing or the people involved with logistics actually dislike the nominees that they're working for and are setting them up on purpose. Because you're supposed to call ahead. Say, hey, donut store.
We got the VP nominee.
I'm with the Trump campaign.
Unfortunately, sorry, it's not Tim Walz.
You know Donald Trump, right? He was the president for 4 years. So he's running for president again, as I'm sure you know. Not Mike Pence again. He tried to kill him. So we got a new guy, J.D. Vance. He's going to come down, buy a donut, and be totally normal about it.
So it appears they didn't do that. They just kind of showed up.
They didn't do that. Old J.D. Vance instead he just showed up, and the server directly asked not to be filmed because like, what the fuck is happening?
Hey, get my face off camera.
Hey, who are you? Why are you here with cameras?
I'm literally in a private business. Please stop filming me.
But they kept filming anyway, so no clearance up front at all. And then J.D. Vance introduces himself, says he's running for vice president, and she responds with,
I'm J.D. Vance. I'm running for vice president. Good to see you.
Okay. Are you gonna get a donut or like?
What are we doing?
Bear claw maybe?
Yeah.
Again, why are you filming? Go away.
Just saying, when you tell someone that you're running for vice president,
that doesn't make sense. That's not a thing you do.
Yeah.
You don't run for vice president.
Yeah. Also, you're running for the ticket. You're supporting your candidate.
Yeah.
But aside
that's
from
not
that,
a phrase that people say though.
Aside from that, I can't think of a more brutal response than just okay. It's not even like dismissive or angry. It's just that this person does not give a fuck about you.
You lived in Valdosta, Georgia at one point, right?
Yeah.
Is it a pretty chill place?
It's a college town. There's nothing going on. There's drinking bars and there's Chick-fil-A's.
Oh, drinking bars.
Drinking bars, Chick-fil-A's, and movie theaters. And also they had a big scandal where they wrapped up a high school player in like one of the gym mats and he fucking died.
Oh, I think I watched a YouTube video about that.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. It's also like 10 miles from the Florida border.
Oh, I
very
think,
close.
Actually, very off topic. If it's the story I'm thinking of, it was originally thought that he was murdered, but it turned out he had actually fallen. He had fallen into the gym mat.
Damn,
and
that's crazy.
Was discovered later, and it was in fact accidental. If it's the one I'm thinking
that was even after I lived there, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're going back 20 years. It's probably changed since I've been there. But college town with bars. In the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it's like on that Florida-Georgia line, right?
It's sorta? I think you could get to Tallahassee in maybe like 90 minutes, which sounds short when you live in LA.
The big city over in Tallahassee.
I mean, it is the capital.
Yeah, I guess.
That's right.
That's where Florida State is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know people from Florida State.
Yeah.
All
back
right.
to J.D.
Anyway,
Vance.
back to J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
So he then tries to make small talk with the people in the donut shop. And then he gets on with his order and basically instructs them to just throw a bunch of donuts in a box in just the most dismissive way possible. Just watch this again.
Just a random assortment of stuff here. How long have you worked here?
I've been here since the beginning of July.
Okay.
For this year.
Okay, good. How about you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, good. How long is this?
Everything.
Just everything, yeah. I mean, a lot of glazed here, some sprinkle stuff, some of these cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense. How long has this place been around?
About 4 years.
About 4 years? Okay. How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good.
Like, if you wanted to make this a relatable video, when most people go to the donut store, which, like, listen, I don't go it's a very rare occurrence for me. But when I do, and I'm in a situation where I'm not just picking up one, I'm picking up a box for the whole family, you know, it is a painstaking process being like, all right, sprinkles, glazed, chocolate bar. You know, I don't like bear claws, but maybe somebody does.
Yeah.
You don't just say, fuck it, I'll just throw a bunch of fucking donuts in the box. Who gives a shit? I fucking hate this town. Get me out of here. Anyway, vote for me.
Also, you would assume that they would have called ahead for a large order so they wouldn't hold up any other. Everything was a failure in this. It was not a good photo op for him, but none of them are. And all of his rally appearances, I saw it described today, the most recent one. It looks like he's cutting the ribbon at a new air-conditioned storage facility. That's what his rally stops look like?
Yeah.
They're always just in parking lots with sparse seating and a couple of trucks in the background.
Yeah, he did one that looked like Four Seasons total landscaping.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Ugh.
But back to focusing on the Dems.
Yeah.
And the biggest stain on the event, and by extension, the entire party right now. We filmed this before the closing night's addresses, so I don't know, maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe something changed.
I don't think so.
I highly doubt it. But as of Thursday afternoon, the DNC was totally unwilling to allow a Palestinian-American to address the crowd. And this is in spite of the fact that the parents of an Israeli-American hostage, as well as Senator Bernie Sanders, called for a ceasefire and an end to the war in Gaza during their appearances, with mentions from other speakers like AOC and Keith Ellison. They always kept it like, you know, quick, very, you know, audience friendly. Didn't go into it.
Yeah.
But anytime a ceasefire was mentioned, the crowd went fucking wild. Those were some of the biggest cheers of every time it was mentioned.
Bring home the hostages and demand an immediate ceasefire.
Not sure why it would be so hard to let one just one Palestinian-American Democrat deliver a vetted, pre-approved speech in a controlled environment that simply reminds the country of the genocide currently taking place and our complicity in it.
Yeah.
And the ability of the next administration to do something about it. This was the chance to prove that the next administration was going to be drastically different and not continue one of the worst decisions made during the Biden administration, which is just blindly funding and supporting Israel, no matter how horrific their destruction of Palestine and the Palestinian people is. Just sending bombs that are dropped a day later on fucking families, babies, and mothers.
There was an interview with that doctor recently.
Is that our bomb? Well, they send another one, I guess.
Interview with a doctor recently who was on the ground there, who was talking, he's like, I want to be clear, like, yeah, there's a bunch of bomb deaths, but he was talking about seeing children and babies with gunshot wounds.
Yeah, that is another thing that, like, yeah, it's not just bombs. They are sniping. They see very clearly through that lens, and they are sniping just people going about their day. Women and children, people who clearly pose no threat.
Now, we know that there is some progress being made behind the scenes, or at least that's what they're alluding to. And yes, we are well aware that a Trump administration would be horrifically worse for the region.
Thing is, that's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
The Trump stuff is hypothetical. The Biden stuff is actually what's happening.
Yeah. But this was the moment to at least show that Americans and the politicians that we elect can bring about the kind of change that their constituents want to see and know in their hearts to be the compassionate choice. And we've all spent the last 10 months seeing atrocities play out in real time in all of our feeds while continuing to fund this genocide with our own tax dollars. It seems like Democrats have acknowledged these horrors and claim to want them to stop.
They bear witness.
But somehow refuse to give Palestinians a platform to ask for help or support from a country that is funding the deaths of their relatives.
In a city, Chicago, that has more Palestinian Americans in it than anywhere else in the country.
The protests outside, they were mostly peaceful, aside from a few agitators.
Yeah, it got a little heated, but it didn't get crazy.
Especially not in the way that everyone was hyping it up to be, like some chaotic riot.
Yeah, they thought it was going to be like George Floyd 2.0, and no, not even close.
Some of the agitators in that crowd were actually there to make pro-Palestinian supporters or pro-Palestinian protesters look like Nazis.
Agent provocateurs.
They were running around with like things with swastikas on them.
Yeah.
And it was bad. And it appears as though there was time in the schedule for someone to give a speech in support of a ceasefire and an end to the murder of innocent civilians. But that just never materialized.
Yeah, so the speech itself was released to the press, and it's just a pretty level-headed request from U.S. leadership alongside an endorsement of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, all supposed to be read aloud by Palestinian-American Ruwa Roman, the first Muslim woman to serve in the state of Georgia's House of Representatives. Literally an elected Democrat who, despite how she feels about Gaza, does have the party's best interest at heart here.
And by reading this statement, you would agree, and we're gonna read a part of it.
So a lot of people were assuming that, protesters were going to take the stage and dismantle the entire party. And we have to say that the way a lot of people reacted to the members of the uncommitted party and the peaceful protesters was actually, it was kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
Especially when you see the footage of people leaving the DNC, just plugging their ears, rolling their eyes, la la la. In one case, seeming to mock the protesters as they're reading the names of dead children.
Yeah, it was bad. And I take the Twitter stuff with a grain of salt because we've already been through this in 2016 and 2020. There's proof. But there's a lot of people stirring up a ton of fucking drama between just any Democrat and people who are calling for a ceasefire. People be like, you can actually just wait. And it's like the kind of talk, the kind of like talking down to people is just so upsetting, and it feels like it's manufactured in order to get a reaction. It's just upsetting that
it feels that way, but it is there.
A lot of people are very upset at this. That I think should be more upset at the now 40,000 people who have died in 10 months.
It's way more than that.
I know it
they
is more than that.
stopped counting like 8 months ago, and you look at a fucking map of Gaza. And there was a study in the Lancet. This was already months ago, where they were using all available data to try to come up with what the actual number is, and it was in the hundreds of thousands potentially.
Yeah.
But we will maybe never know. It's going to be more a matter of just counting who's still alive at the end of this.
From the Palestinian Health Ministry is the confirmed number that they have is 40,000, but we all know that that's much more.
There is no Palestinian Health Administration, not since December.
But this speech, it was going to be vetted. It was from a Democratic lawmaker, and it was pretty fucking mild considering the death toll in Palestine. Here's just some of what was in the speech, and then just you tell us if this was somehow too much for the American public to hear.
So radical. In this pain, I've also witnessed something profound. A beautiful, multi-faith, multiracial, and multi-generational coalition rising from despair within our Democratic Party. For 320 days, we've stood together, demanding to enforce our laws on friend and foe alike to reach a ceasefire, end the killing of Palestinians, free all the Israeli and Palestinian hostages, and to begin the difficult work of building a path to collective peace and safety. That's why we are here, members of this Democratic Party committed to equal rights and dignity for all. What we do here echoes around the world. They'll say this is how it's always been, that nothing can change. But remember Fannie Lou Hamer, shunned for her courage, yet she paved the way for an integrated Democratic Party. Her legacy lives on, and it's her example we follow. But we can't do it alone. The historic moment is full of promise, but only if we stand together. Our party's greatest strength has always been our ability to unite. Some see that as a weakness, but it's time that we flex that strength. Let's commit to each other, to electing Vice President Harris and defeating Donald Trump, who uses my identity as a Palestinian as a slur. Let's fight for the policies long overdue, from restoring access to abortions, to ensuring a living wage, to demanding an end to reckless war and a ceasefire in Gaza. To those who doubt us, to the cynics and the naysayers, I say, yes, we can. Yes, we can be a Democratic Party that prioritizes funding our schools and hospitals, not for endless wars. That fights for an America that belongs to all of us, black, brown, and white, Jews and Palestinians, all of us, like my grandfather taught me, together. Oh my God!
Shocking.
They invited a Hamas member on stage.
This was going to ruin the entire DNC.
I am scandalized. Give me my fainting couch.
I don't see anything wrong with what she was going to say, and I believe that the reception would have actually done a lot of good by allowing your average American to see things from a different perspective, someone who has family. It just would open the average American's eyes to the fact that not only is this still going on, but people are fucking dying in truly horrific ways, and it is not stopping. So they kind of need a refresher sometimes. To hear from a Palestinian who is directly affected by this and to see the party allow these words to be spoken would have been powerful.
Would have been pretty nice, yeah.
Anyways, I guess TMZ announced that Beyonce was the surprise guest. I mean, this happened right before we filmed, so great. We'll have more on that and the response to Kamala's speech in the next episode. But before we dip out of this one, we should say that one campaign does appear to be coming to an end tonight. Pour one out for old RFK Jr.
Oh.
He's making a big public announcement tomorrow.
Everybody get on the floor and do the worm in honor of Robert F. Kennedy calling an end to his campaign on Friday, probably.
RFK Jr.'s campaign looks like it's over, folks. He is scheduled to appear at a press conference tomorrow, and all signs point to him dropping out and then endorsing, surprise, surprise, he is endorsing Donald J. Trump for president. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can.
And that is almost certainly because he desperately wants a position in the Trump cabinet. Unfortunately, this move gives the entire game away and shows that RFK was only ever running as a spoiler candidate, which is what every normal person knew already.
Yeah, I mean, he was running an interesting spoiler candidate thing where it sounds like he was trying to get anyone in the Kamala Harris campaign to be like, hey, we should get RFK Jr. on board. But at this point, everyone's like,
no, go away.
Gross. He's going to ask to be like in charge of health and human services and like ban vaccines.
Yeah.
Like, why would we do that? Also, he sounds really weird.
Didn't
he kill a bear?
It's very...
Didn't he eat a dog?
It seems like no one likes him.
Doesn't he have a worm in his head?
He kind of did put those feelers out there for the Democrats, and then immediately was like, all right, well, I guess I'll be in the Trump cabinet.
Yeah, it's so transparent.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess we'll see which way the needle falls, but
yeah,
I don't know how significant
I do want to add, though, that the first hint of RFK dropping out of the race was also maybe the first time that I'd actually heard from his vice presidential pick since he picked...
his VP/sugar mama.
Yeah. During an interview earlier this week, Nicole Shanahan claimed that pretty much, yeah, I guess we could just end the campaign and go support Trump. Okay. She admitted.
Yeah.
I mean, I also wouldn't count on Trump giving RFK a position in his administration, though, even after a full-throated endorsement of Trump.
Yeah.
Which is also very funny because, yeah, I could see Trump just being like, okay, thank you for the endorsement, bye-bye.
Very cool.
So yeah, he'll probably, he'll probably just go back to doing what he does best, physically abusing animals and emotionally abusing women, allegedly. Anyway, that's it for this week's episode of News Dump. We'll be back for Weekly Weird News very soon with some updates on whatever else has happened, as well as the rest of the weird shit from this week that's been happening around us. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, we have two wonderful episodes for you right over here. We got all the Elon and AI news you can shake a stick at. You got other stuff over here from earlier in the week. Why don't you watch both of those? But first, click the like button. I forgot it again.
Click it again. Click the like button,
please. Click the like button. Otherwise, I'm going to feel really sad that I forgot to say it. Please do that. Subscribe to the channel. Watch those videos. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.